Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it.
Technology, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
All right, what's going on, friends? Steve Spear, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct here, and I am excited. I'm flying solo today. My man, Mr. Rob G, my co-host, is got some stuff going on today, so you got all me today. Although we do have a great, amazing guest, and I'm extremely excited to introduce you to, and we'll get that rolling in a moment here. But listen, we are the Master Connector Show. It's all about connecting. So make sure you're in the comments, connecting with each other. We love participation. Let us know where you're from. What city, state, country. What planet, whatever. Right? I know we had an eclipse, and we had in the Northeast. We had an earthquake. It's been a while. We had like a monsoon. It's been wild. So, but excited to hear where you're from. And if you love this show and you enjoy what you're seeing and watching and hearing, please share it. Share it with the community. Like it, comment it. We love your participation and questions. We love questions. We love participation. Again, this show is not my show, not Rob's show. It's your show. We're here for you. This is why we're here. So today's show we're going to be speaking about is the way to a successful life. And you guys know I wrote a book called The Tao of a Master Connector. The Tao is the way, right? In the martial arts world, in my Japanese style of karate and Japanese jiu-jitsu, the frame do, which is the way or path, right? So just excited. But anyway, we're going to dive into this in a minute, but I want to welcome my amazing friend, Yolanda Shin. Welcome, of course. Yeah. Who loves you, baby? Yes. In the bold flesh right here. There you go. I got to get a lollipop for when you say that. Tuning in from Texas. I appreciate that. Great to have you on as always. But we're going to have a blast here today. So I want to get into this a little bit. So here's the thing, right? The way to a successful life often involves tapping into the elusive state of flow. I'm reading this great book called Flow. Now, if I had to ask, you have to ask me the name, how to pronounce. I know probably Harsha knows how to pronounce it, but it's a really long, very unusual name. Mihail, I can't even, his first name is even complicated, but it's an amazing book on flow. But flow is described as a state of complete immersion and focused attention on a task. It's a potent catalyst for achievement. Now, here's the thing, right? Martial arts background, Harsh is, he'll tell you we both share that in common. But I remember being in the zone, being kind of like totally immersed, right? That sort of Zen Buddhist kind of mentality. And just when I was in that state, it was amazing, right? By being fully engaged in activities that challenge and inspire us, we can enter this state where time just seems to vanish and our abilities align effortlessly with the task at hand. I could definitely relate to that. And to cultivate a successful life, one must seek out opportunities that push boundaries and ignite passion, allowing for the natural flow of creativity and productivity. In this state, obstacles will become stepping stones and achievements become milestones on the path to realizing our fullest potential. And I can tell you, it's so true. One of the pillars of the show is overcoming obstacles. And when you're in that state of flow, obstacles are just something you're just doing. It's not like it's like, oh man, it's just amazing. So, but flow is not merely a destination, but a transformative journey towards living a truly successful and fulfilling life. So listen, if you're ready for me to introduce our amazing guest, I want you to type in the comments. Let's go. We're here. We're participants, not lurkers, right? Welcome, John, to the show. Let's go. And here we go. Let's introduce Harsha, and then I'll bring him onto the stage here. And thank God Harsha gave me a very short bio, because learning disabled dyslexic guy, this is tough for me. But Harsha Dendamudi, hopefully I said that right, is a performance coach with over 20 years of experience in the health, fitness, and wellness industry. A trained expert in the martial arts, awesome, systems like Kung Fu, right? That's a proper pronunciation. Well, everyone says Kung, but it's Kung Fu, and Tai Chi. Harsha has unlocked the secrets to tapping into your flow state and harnessing your superhuman potential. So if you're ready, again, let's go and let's bring up Mr. Harsha Dharmadudi. And I butchered your name. I had it right the first time. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Steve. No, my name is Harsha Dandamudi.
Dandamudi,
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I'm a ninth generation Sifu in the Chola Foot Kung Fu and Yang Tai Chi systems. I've got almost 23 years of experience, so I've developed a lot of knowledge and skill over time, but also simultaneously been figuring out how to tap into that switch in the brain that allows you to do extraordinary things. We're connected to and attracted to doing extraordinary things. We love people that do extraordinary things. We want to be like that. So there are easy ways to find success by just unlocking that extra little potential that you don't even realize you have.
That's awesome. That's great. And you said ninth generation. So does that mean in your family or just as in the lineage of your martial arts style?
Great question. Yeah, this is the lineage of our martial arts style. The founders of, so I'm a ninth generation Sifu in two systems. Chola Foot Kung Fu is a Shaolin Kung Fu system, very similar to, you've heard things like Wing Chun and those kinds of things, right? Similar Shaolin styles. So from the founder, who would be the first generation, I'm the ninth generation. The oldest living grandmaster, actually my grandmaster, Doc Fai Wong, is a fifth generation grandmaster. He's the highest ranking authority in the world when it comes to Yang Tai Chi and Chola Foot. He started the Plum Blossom International Federation. So we've got 200 schools in 40 countries. And among them is the school that I come from, which is White Dragon Martial Arts, led by Master Nathan Fisher, who is the legendary Doc Fai Wong's top student and a legend in his own right. And my teacher is Master Ming Lao. He's been training me for the last 20 years. So I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to have found the discipline, the dedication, and just a phenomenal school with phenomenal teachers that have made me the man that I am today. So big shout out to them.
Absolutely. Well, amazing stuff. And you know what? Like you, and that's one of the things why we resonated so well when we connected, right? We both learned so much, and it shaped who we are today because of the martial arts, right? So
exactly.
But we want to talk a little bit about, the topic today of getting the way to a successful life. And I want to touch on flow. So community, I would love you to type in #flow, and we'll get into this question here. So here's the question, right? So can you share your insights on how embracing the flow state can be pivotal in achieving success?
Absolutely. So let's go back to who coined the term. It is a hard name. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi is the
Thank you.
founder,
Appreciate that.
the person that coined the phrase back in the 70s. And essentially what he figured out is there is a zone that the brain goes into. And we've all actually experienced it accidentally, most likely. But you get into that zone where you're just ultra focused. Time does not become a thing. And whatever it is you're doing at the highest level. And you even shock and surprise yourself. But what's really happening is you're tapping into your flow state. And we could experience that with whatever it is we're doing. As a child, it was video games for me. You hit a level, it's impossible. You try and you try and you try, it's not happening. And then one day, you just knock it out of the park, and then you're going well beyond it. And just your reflexes, your strategy, your intellect, everything about what you're doing just became incredible. So I remember when I was 9 years old, that was probably my first memory of hitting the flow state. But then it could happen in anything, when you're studying or when you're taking a test or inside your profession, when you're communicating with people. When you tap into the flow state, it takes what's ordinary about the average human being and it turns it into something extraordinary. So it takes a human and essentially can basically make you a superhuman. And there are different methodologies on how to get there. But what I've done over the years is really try to simplify some of the easiest techniques and methods to help people, everyday people, just kind of really lock in and be able to take their skills, their abilities, their aptitude to the next level. It maximizes your results, but you're not even thinking about the results. you're actually enjoying the journey. And before you know it, you've gained another layer of expertise in whatever it is you want to do. You've gained another layer of knowledge and just a lot of excitement in the craft that you're taking.
That's awesome. And one example of that for me in my life, right? So I was starting to at one point in my life, I trained in tennis, and I was pretty proficient at it technically, right? I was training 6 7 days a week, 4 5 6 7 days, 7 hours a day roughly, and I had some tennis lessons, and I
Awesome.
joined the USTA, and I was doing a whole bunch of competition, and I found myself losing to people that technically I was way better than, but it was because I was in my head, and I was just like, there was so many thoughts going through my head, and I didn't realize it back then. I wasn't in a flow state. I was overthinking things.
Absolutely.
Fast forward, fast forward, I went into the martial arts and kind of put tennis on the side. And then about a year later, I came back to tennis just to see just to play, whatever. And I found myself not in my head, not and completely just like, and in fact, I don't know if he was being nice to me, but it was a tennis pro of a club, and I actually beat him. It didn't feel like he was giving me he was kind of like letting me win, but it felt like I was really in a great state, and I was really enjoying it. And it's not about winning or losing, but I find that it's when I'm in that flow state, when I'm just focused and I'm in the doing, and and I'm just again, I think in the sports realm, you might hear the phrase being in the zone. I think it's similar, right? But anyway, that was a great lesson for me, and I've tried to apply that, whenever I can, in terms of whatever you're doing, and just getting into a place where you can kind of. And by the way, that book, I'm re-listening to it today. I knew we were gonna in the last few days. I knew we were doing a show together, and big focus was going to be on flow, so I had to kind of remind myself, but. It's great book, and highly recommend it. So good stuff. All right, so let's talk about triggers. So community #triggers. Okay, we want to dig into this again. We're and if you have, by the way, if there's any questions, please put them. For Harsha, put them in the comments. We'll get to your questions for sure. We want to definitely. Again, this is your show, not my show. It's our show. But type in #triggers, and we want to dig into this. So here's the question for you. What specific mindset triggers have you found to be most effective in inducing that flow state?
Great question, Steve. The thing that's most important, I think, is having some sort of excitement or enthusiasm. When you're excited about what you're about to do, when you have a love for it, a positive energy toward it, your brain automatically switches on in a way that's different than everything else. It wants to explore. We are actually curious by nature. Since the day we're born, human beings are resilient, relentless, and very, very curious. So when you watch babies trying to turn over or trying to crawl or trying to stand up, trying to walk, trying to run, that's all just ingrained in the DNA. That doesn't have to be taught. Parents don't have to sit there and try to coax their child to try to move. So from the day we're born, that excitement and curiosity is absolutely part of our system, part of the DNA. And when you're excited about a task at hand, when you want to do something that's just new and exciting for you, you tend to already focus at a much deeper level. So one of the best triggers, and I tell everybody this, is always try something new. And a lot of coaches say things like, go outside your comfort zone. I don't like to say it like that because people just simply won't. We don't like feeling uncomfortable either, right? So rather than thinking about it as a way of going outside of the comfort zone or being uncomfortable, what I say is just learn new things. Try anything, learn to play a new game, read a new book, try a new sport. Communicate with somebody you normally don't. Have a conversation about a topic you may not feel, super knowledgeable about, but try to find something that can kind of engage your mind. And when your brain does things like that, it expands the neuroplasticity. So you're actually, it's like you're making your brain lift weights, you're making it get stronger. And as a result, it'll actually lock you into that flow a little bit easier. So that's one part of it, is the excitement. And then the other thing I would say is try to find a task that's not too difficult and also not too easy. Try to find something that's just outside of your range, but something you can aspire to get good at. And when you have the excitement and you have a goal that you can aspire to reach, those two components really, really help you just boom, flow very, very naturally, very easily. So those are the two things I would say you should do to trigger the flow state.
That's great. I love that. That is very true. And I think that's what, I was excited by the martial arts, right? It was something so challenging to me. And because I was so into it, it just allowed me to get into that flow state that you were talking about. I have a question for you, right? So I'm a big believer and I've seen it, the DISC method, right? The personality styles, DISC. And it sort of says that the Ds, which is the driven, decisive people, and the Cs, the cautious, calculating people, tend to be task oriented. And the people that are the S's, supportive, and the I's, which are the center of attention, inspiring types, the center of attention party people, they tend to be people oriented. And I tend to be very task oriented. I'm a DC or CD basically. So getting in a flow state, focusing on task, that's easy. That's like second nature to me, right? My question is, if for those of our community that are maybe more on the people focus, what's your thoughts on how they can get? And I know we didn't have this as a question, but it's been rolling around in my mind because it's easy for me to get focused on task. But I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, good question. I'm a people person actually. So, you and I complement each other. Not that I don't enjoy tasks either, but I enjoy the interaction with people. That's important to me. A lot of what I do for work and a lot of, coaching and martial arts training, fitness training, wellness training. It's about really getting inside somebody's head and trying to figure out what the right buttons are to push so that they can just really transform their lives in the most positive way, find the most success possible. I think a healthy balance of both is really, really important. So I'm glad you brought up the DISC method. For people who are more people oriented, people centered, like myself, my best recommendation is don't try to change who you are, right? I love that I'm on this podcast with you and that I'm talking to you and I'm talking to everybody else who might be listening and who will be watching and listening later on. If my message in any way resonates, if I've even changed one mind, if I've even affected one person in a positive way, this entire moment was completely worth it, So I recommend to people who are people oriented, continue communicating. Communication is a really, really important thing. When you communicate to somebody about something you're excited about, you are naturally locking yourself into a flow state. The person that you're engaging with is then going to see and feel that energy, and they're going to reciprocate as well. So it's a very powerful thing to be able to connect with somebody on that level. So take your strengths is my best advice. Take your strengths and use them. I don't like sitting down and writing things, but I certainly love sitting down and talking to somebody face to face. That's my favorite thing to do. So take your strengths and turn it into something that's just dial it up to 11. That's my best advice.
I'm muted. And yeah, and maybe take your tasks and focus them around people, right? If that's what you love, then be task oriented on people, right? So doing something with people or doing something for people or, that's a good way I think you could do it. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
Awesome. So you mentioned early on about superhuman, right? And, early on as a kid, I fantasized about being, Superman. That was kind of like who I thought I was. I was, just waiting for, the right time and I was going to be this superhuman person. And so community, type in hashtag superhuman. But here's the question for you, Harsha, right? In your experience, how does entering the flow state enhance one's ability to perform at almost superhuman, levels?
Yeah, that's the $1,000,000 question. That's what everyone wants, right? Everyone who wants to be better at their craft. I've talked to and worked with executives, athletes, entertainers, even other coaches, and that's the number one question. How do we get to that superhuman level? Why are people so attracted to it? Why is it those Marvel movies with Iron Man and Spider-Man and Captain America just, they make billions of dollars? It's because that's something that resonates with almost every human being on the planet. We want to have superhero-like powers. We want to be able to do the unthinkable, the unimaginable. And what happens when you're in the flow state is you maximize results on a level that like I said before, you yourself could never possibly fathom. And the reason that happens is when the singular mind becomes very, very focused, the task starts to become easier. You're able to, the brain waves are able to like manipulate information a lot faster, a lot easier. You don't feel stresses and anxieties like you normally do. A lot of times performance is difficult. Like you were mentioning with tennis, you were a better player, but you got inside your head. That's stress, that's anxiety, and it's a blocker. It stops you from being able to hit the ball exactly the way you want to.
Absolutely.
And I can relate with you. I was captain of the varsity team when I was in high school. I played tennis, most of my life. One of the most challenging sports when it comes to mentality. You need the strongest mind
Oh
of
yeah.
any sport, in my opinion,
Yeah.
when you play tennis. I have a lot of respect for tennis players, especially tennis players that have been playing at the highest levels for a long, long time. Your Djokovic's, your Nadal's, your Roger Federer's, phenomenal athletes, but more importantly, their mentality is just so unwavered. We're
Superhuman, basically.
superhuman,
Yeah.
essentially, yeah, and able to do it at a much later stage in their life. They're in their mid to late 30s. You look at guys like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo in soccer. They're in their mid to late 30s. LeBron James is almost 40. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar might have been the guy that started it all. In the 60s to the 80s, he had such an incredible NBA career. So what do all these guys have in common? They unlock superpowers because they're able to control their minds. So the question then becomes, well, how do you control your mind? Well, I did a lot of research on this. What do they all have in common? They all do a certain type of internal training. Oh, one other athlete I forgot to mention is Tom Brady, with his amazing 23-year NFL career and 7 Super Bowl championships. Absolutely unheard of. Doing it at the highest level into his mid 40s. Phenomenal. Again, they take care of themselves in a different way. It's not just the explosive training. They do what's called internal training. Okay, forms of internal training are like Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga is a very, very popular one. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar used to do that. LeBron James institutes that into his training. That's a perfect supplement for healing the body, healing the mind, strengthening the mind, reversing the aging effects, allowing you to be consistent in your performance. So when you talk about superhuman abilities and being in flow state, you want to find activities that get you there. So if you're an athlete, and I wrote a paper which I can share with the audience if they're interested. It's really tailored toward athletes more than anything else. But internal training is one of the easiest ways to unlock flow state, but also increase your longevity. So an average NFL career might be 3.3 years for the last 20, 30 years. If you made it 3 years in the NFL, you were considered a success. So for a guy like Tom Brady, who did it for 23 years, simply phenomenal, simply phenomenal. And I've a good friend of mine and a training partner of mine here at when we were at White Dragon Martial Arts is Quinn Early. He's a former NFL wide receiver. He had a 12-year career. He played for teams like the San Diego Chargers, the Buffalo Bills, the New Orleans Saints. He was a top 5 wide receiver for just about his entire career. And he'll be the first one to tell you. I talk to him all the time, and he says, if it weren't for my training at White Dragon, if it weren't for that Tai Chi training, that internal training, that martial arts training, he's like, not only would I not have had such a long career, but I wouldn't have had a successful career the way I did. So I recommend for people who are in athletics or have to do something that's physically grueling, internal training is the way to do it. It's what keeps you young, and it's what keeps your career long.
It's so key. It's so key. I mean, and that's why I wanted to make sure that one of the components, the pillars of our show is grit, having the grit to overcome obstacles, because I believe grit doesn't come from external, it's from internal. And and it's something it's really hard to teach, but you can cultivate it. Like you said, it has a lot of it is that mental training, and you can learn it from the martial arts. There's other ways you can learn it. Some people learn it from maybe coaches like yourself, right? So good, that's amazing. Well, listen, we're wrapping up here. Again, we could squeeze it in. If you have any questions, today we're talking to Harsha Dandamudi. Am I saying it right?
You got it. Yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
cool. If you have any questions, obviously put them in the comments, because we're just about closing down the show here, but maybe we could squeeze it in. But want to slip in one last question here. And remarkable, right? So community, type in hashtag remarkable, because I believe it, when it's all said and done, I think we want to leave a mark on this planet, and we want to be a little bit different than everyone else. So let's talk about this, right? So could you provide examples of how individuals have utilized flow state to achieve remarkable success in their lives?
Yeah, absolutely. anybody, you can think of your heroes, right? Whether it's your favorite entertainer, your favorite athlete, or you just hear stories. One of the stories I always talk to my clients and my students about is, and we've all heard some variation of this story, but there was a young kid. This was several years ago. I remember reading about this. A young kid that was trapped under a car, and his 86-year-old grandmother was able to lift the car off of him. And now there is no way on earth that she had the physical strength to lift a car. Very few human beings on earth could do something like that, period. But what she tapped into was a different switch, right? It became about necessity. It became about survival. She didn't have time to be stressed. She didn't have time to think that this is impossible. Her instincts kicked in, and that's when the switch flipped. She got completely into that zone. She got under the car. She lifted it up. He was able to roll out. She saved her grandson's life. And we think that this is remarkable, this is miraculous, this is, but that just shows you from a scientific point of view, there is a switch that can allow you to be that kind of a superhuman. When you watch your favorite athlete jump over everybody else and dunk a ball, or run past everybody, jump up really, really high and catch that football in the end zone, these incredible feats that just make us jump out of our seats, or knocking the baseball out of the stadium for a come from behind win. That's what inspires us. That's what motivates us. But if you think about the kind of pressure it takes to do these incredible feats, it takes a very, very strong mind to really relax, calm yourself, focus, and be able to just pinpoint exactly what it is you need to do, drown out all the other, noises and distractions, and just, hyper focus. So there are simple techniques. Like I said, a lot of people like to meditate. A lot of people like to learn things, read, run, take a walk. You can do 1,000 different things, but if you do it consistently, you can actually consciously get in and out of the flow state at will. And that's kind of what I help people do to find that success.
That's awesome. Well, I want to just, you reminding me of, you telling the stories, right? It reminded me of the bumblebee, right? And scientists years back had put a theory. They were baffled because physiologically a bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly. It's got these little tiny wings and this huge fat body, and it shouldn't. But nobody ever told the bumblebee that, right? And it flies, and apparently the wings go really fast, and that's part of it. But it's just, again, bumblebees don't really think. I'm sure they don't think. They don't have that cognitive ability like we do. But and so it's like when you're in the flow state, you're not really thinking. You're just doing it. You're not really thinking about it. So this is awesome. We can go on forever. We're already just about at the top of the bottom of the hour. So Harsha, this has been awesome. If you can, number one, what's the best way for our community to reach you? And then we're going to talk about that. You alluded to your offer there for our community. So if you could do both, and then we'll close things down here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach me on LinkedIn. I believe Steve has my information that he can lock in there. Also, if you guys want, there's a number you can text if you want to reach me personally. And I can give that to you guys. For those of you that are able to write it down, it's 619-837-5385. So feel free to drop me a text. If you try calling it, I probably won't be able to answer, but if you send a text, I will be able to respond. And whatever your needs are, we can discuss it. I can consult with you. We can figure it out. Find me on LinkedIn, send me a message as well. I'll be able to help you there as well. So those are a couple of the best ways. And then I do have a couple of papers that I wrote. One was specifically asked for by certain professional teams, like in football, basketball. So I wrote a white paper about, the flow state for athletes, but it applies to everybody: executives, professionals, entertainers, leaders. It doesn't matter. When you lock into the flow state, you can improve your performance. And then there's a secondary paper also that just kind of summarizes a little bit easier what it is, how you can apply it, and what kinds of methodology you can use to really lock in and out, and how I can help you for that. So Steve will be able to send you those links as well. And please read them. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, read them, enjoy them, reach out to me if you guys have more. You should have more in-depth questions, because this is a topic we could talk about for hours and days and even weeks if we wanted to. So, yeah.
Well, really, really appreciate you. I'm going to put you in the green room real quick here, but so blessed. Community, make sure you reach out to Harsha. Thank you again. You were amazing.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Well, what an amazing young man. Incredible. But hey, so listen, we appreciate you. Again, big thanks to Harsha, but thank you, community, because without you, we wouldn't be here. And if you like what you heard today, make sure you share it. And if you're rewatching it on the replay, put in #replay. Don't forget, pick up my book, The Tao of a Master Connector. And then last thing, next week, we're going to be back. Now, be there to support my man, Rob, because I'm actually going to be off, but he's going to be doing the show with Stephen, with a PH, Shaya. And it's The Power of Purpose and Possibility with Steve Shaya. It's April 17th, week from today. Same bad time, same bad channel, the 17th. Don't miss it. It's going to be amazing. But listen, as we close down the show, I want to, as I've been doing this now, I'll tell a quick story here. So Oprah Winfrey came from a difficult childhood and early career setbacks to become one of the most influential and successful women in the world. Her journey to success was remarked by resilience, hard work, and a commitment to help others. As a beacon of light, she used her perform to inspire and empower millions of people through a talk show, media empire, and philanthropic, that's the word, efforts. Her story is a testament to the power of perseverance and the ability to rise above adversity to achieve greatness. Folks, let's remember, like Oprah, let's make sure to be the light. Love you guys, and we'll speak to you soon. See you next week. And let me get the video as we close out here. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you guys.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.